Hey everybody, it's Audrey, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing activity 6-3, configuring a radius server, and this activity can be found on page 221 in the MCSA Guide to Administering Microsoft Windows Server 2012-R/R2. And the objective of this activity is to configure a radius server to authenticate VPN access requests. And for this activity, I am going to be here using my server 1, my server 2, and my Windows 8 machine. And I want to authenticate and authorize VPN traffic coming through into my little network here. And so I need to configure a radius server to accept access requests from VPN clients. So first thing I'm instructed to do is to log into my server 1 as an administrator, and you can see I've already done that. And here I am in Server Manager, and now I want to open up my network policy server. To do that, I go to Tools, and there's my network policy server. And I want to open up my network policy servers, so it's part of the steps I need to do to configure my radius server. All right, here we are. Now in the standard configuration section of getting started, so this is this section right here, I want to click Radius Server for dial-up or VPN connections. So from this drop down, I want to click Radius Server for dial-up or VPN connections. And from here, I want to click this little link, Configure VPN or dial-up. And this will take us to our setup wizard. So here in the Select Dial-up and Virtual Private Network Connections type, I'm going to select VPN, and then the name auto-populates for the VPN connection. I'm going to leave that name the way it is, so I'm going to click Next. And then in the Specify Dial-up or VPN Server window, I am going to click Add to open the new Radius Client dialog box. And from here, in the friendly name text box, which is right here, I'm going to type in 411 server 2 dot. And since I'm in a domain, I'm going to connect it to my domain. And in the IP address, I'm going to put in the address for my server 2, which is 10.11.1.3. And here I can click Verify just to make sure that and see it came back as a verified, because that is an IP address that is in the domain. And for the password, wait a minute, make sure, and then in the password text box, I'm just going to write do password 1 for the shared secret. Click OK. And then now there we have the server 2 as our Radius client. So click Next. And this is where it wants us to, in the Configure Authentication methods, this wants us to click our encryption method. And we are going to keep the default with the MS Chat version 2 because it's the most up-to-date and the most secure. So we don't have to do anything else on this window, so we're going to click Next. Now in the Specify User Groups window, I normally, if this were like a regular business setting, here is where I would want to be a little choosy about who I add to this, but since for this particular video I'm going to leave this window blank, and by leaving it blank it's going to add Active Directory users and groups to all users. So that just makes this activity a little bit simpler. So I need to click next. And let's see, IP filters. Here I can add IPv4 or IPv6 input filters. I'm not going to do any of that for this activity, so I'm just going to click next. And the specify encryption settings. Routing and remote access service supports all three types of encryption, so all are selected. And so I'm just going to leave them all selected because you'll never know what type of encryption you're going to be needing. So I'm just going to click next. And in the specify realm name window, I'm going to leave the realm name text box blank because it really doesn't give me a real reason why I'm leaving it blank, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click next. And in the final window, it just gives you the breakdown of what you just configured. So the Radius client that we configured is the 411 server 2. And then the type of connection we created was a VPN connection. So the connection request coming from the computer to the server will be a VPN request. So we're just going to click finish. Now that we've configured routing and remote access to use Radius authentication and accounting on server 1, now we're just going to jump over to server 2. We're going to log in first. Okay, now that I'm logged into server 2, I'm just waiting for my server manager to come up. It takes a minute because I have 3 virtual machines running and my computer is not liking it very much. So in my server manager on my server 2, I want to go to Tools and click Routing and Remote Access for my server 2. Give that just a minute. So now what I'm doing is I am going to be setting up my properties on server 2 to allow remote routing and remote access. So to do that, I'm going to right click on my server 2 over in the left hand side here and go to properties. And in the properties dialog box, I'm going to click on security. And it looks as though I may have already configured this, but I'm going to run through it just like it wants me to. So on the security tabs in the authentication provider drop-down list, the default is Windows authentication, but I had already chosen Radius authentication. And from there, to finish configuring, you click configure. And then you would click add and then click the add your Radius server, which is my server 1. And then I would put the password and all that, and I would do the same thing for accounting provider. But since I've already done all that and I've already configured all of that, I'm just going to continue on with the activity. So now what I need to do is I need to restart the remote access service on my server 2. So to do that, go to right click, all tasks, restart. Now the moment of truth. to test our Radius server configuration and our remote access for server 2, what I need to do now to test it is to create a VPN connection on my, or create a VPN client on my Windows 8 computer. So to do that, I'm going to log on to my Windows 8 computer. And I'm going to create a VPN client and connect it to server 2. So to do that, I'm going to right click and open my network and sharing. Set up a new connection. Connect to a workplace. Next. So it looks like I already have a VPN connection set up on this computer, but I'll just create a new one. Use my internet address. So for this, I'm going to put in the address of my server 2, so 11.1.3, and click create. Here we go, moment of truth. It's going to ask for login credentials, and those credentials are going to be, I'm going to log in as a domain administrator, so I'm going to do for dom1wack administrator. And let's see if this works. It's not installed on this computer. Okay, so we have an error saying that the extensible authentication protocol type required for authentication of the remote access connection is not installed on your computer. So I think to do that, nope. I think what I need to do is come into my VPN connection settings. Nope. Nope. Security. And then enable my EAP. See if that helps. Alright, try again. Nope. The remote connection was denied because the username and password combination you provided is not recognized. So now it's saying that on the remote access server. Well, in theory, my VPN connection should allow me to. So what this computer is supposed to be doing is sending an access request to my Radius server, and so far my Radius server is denying all these requests. So for the sake of the length of this video, I'm just going to end it here. I will continue to troubleshoot this. Hopefully I'll figure it out, but this is it for today. See you next time.